Hey everyone, welcome back to Retro Reel Recaps. Today we're diving into the movie Death Race. This is the story of an ex-convict who gets blamed for a murder he didn't commit. He's sent to prison and forced to take part in a deadly car race where prisoners fight to the death for a chance at freedom. The story starts when America's economy falls apart. So many people lose their jobs, and crime rates go through the roof. The prisons can't handle all the prisoners, so private companies take over and run them for profit. At Terminal Island Prison, the guards organize cage fights where inmates fight each other to the death, and these fights are streamed live online. People love watching them, but after a while, they get bored and want something more exciting. That's when the prison comes up with Death Race, a brutal race where prisoners drive heavily armed cars and kill each other to win their freedom. In today's race, only 2 cars are left. One is driven by a masked prisoner named Frankenstein with his navigator case. The other car is driven by Frankenstein's biggest rival, Machine Gun Joe. Both are close to the finish line and will do anything to win. But Frankenstein's car weapons stop working, so he has to think fast. He opens the car's back shield, which smashes into Joe's car and gives Frankenstein a small advantage. But Joe isn't giving up. He still has weapons and is ready to attack. Case knows Joe will destroy them, so she decides to eject herself from the car. Just as Frankenstein crosses the finish line, Joe shoots his car, causing it to explode. Frankenstein wins, but his car is destroyed. Sometime later, we meet Jensen, a factory worker and former convict. He finds out the steel mill where he works is shutting down, and the company isn't even paying the workers what they're owed. The workers get angry and start protesting, but the riot police show up and begin beating them for even small actions. Jensen sees his co-workers getting hurt, so he jumps in and fights back, hitting a few cops. By the time he gets home, it's already night. He greets his wife and checks on their baby upstairs. But while he's doing this, a masked criminal sneaks into the house and kills Jensen's wife. When Jensen comes back to the kitchen, the attacker knocks him out and puts the murder weapon in his hand. Before leaving, the killer makes a gun gesture with his gloved hand. When Jensen wakes up, the police arrest him, blaming him for his wife's murder. 6 months later, Jensen is sent to Terminal Island Prison. A guard named Ulrich greets him by spraying him with freezing water and letting another guard hit him. Then, Ulrich takes him to a cell with 3 other prisoners who try to beat him up. Ulrich comes back, hoping to see Jensen in trouble. But Jensen is a tough fighter. He's already knocked out all his cellmates. The next morning, Jensen goes to the cafeteria to eat breakfast. While he's there, 3 men, Coach, Gunner, and Lists, watch him closely. Lists recognizes Jensen as a former race car driver who was really good but ended up ruining his own career. The room suddenly goes quiet when a prisoner named Pachenko and his friend walk up to Jensen to start trouble. First, they spit on his food, then call him a woman killer and a child abuser. Jensen gets angry and jumps on Pachenko, beating him up. But the guards quickly stop the fight and take Jensen to meet the prison warden, Claire Hennessy. She knows about Jensen's past as a race car driver and thinks he's really skilled. So she makes him an offer. She wants him to become the new Frankenstein. The real Frankenstein died after his last race, but nobody knows this yet. Frankenstein was a fan favorite, a legend that people loved watching. If the audience finds out he's dead, the ratings for Death Race will drop even more. They've already gone down since his death. The rules say if a driver wins 5 races, they get their freedom. Since Frankenstein already won 4, Jensen would only need to win 1 more race to be free. Jensen isn't sure about risking his life like this, but Hennessy threatens to put him in solitary confinement if he refuses. That way, he can't tell anyone her secret. With no other choice, Jensen agrees. After the meeting, he's taken to the prison's garage, where Coach and his crew work. They're the mechanics who build and fix Frankenstein's car, and they'll teach Jensen what he needs to know. Each racing team has its own pit area, and no one helps the other teams. Only Jensen's team and a few guards will know he's the new Frankenstein. Coach then shows Jensen the car he'll be driving, a modified Mustang V8 Fastback. It has all kinds of weapons and defenses, but the ammo isn't loaded until race day, so prisoners can't use the car to escape. Even if they tried, escaping would be impossible. The prison is on an island, and the only way out is a small bridge that would be covered with police cars and helicopters the second anyone tries to break out. There's also a big workshop where Hennessy has been secretly building something for the past month. Once Jensen gets familiar with the car, he and the team go to the prison yard to talk more. The race has 3 parts. In the first 2, the goal is to take out as many opponents as possible. The last part is all about speed, getting to the finish line first. Every driver has a navigator, which are women brought in from the women's prison. The only exception is Machine Gun Joe. He doesn't use a female navigator because he goes through them so quickly that it makes the audience uncomfortable. Instead, he has a teammate ride with him. Lists then tells Jensen about the most important drivers in the race, who are all in the yard with them. There's 14K, a member of a Chinese gang who also went to MIT. Hector Grimm, a real psychopath who worships Hennessy, Slovo Pachenko, the leader of the Aryan Brotherhood in the prison, and Travis Colt, a former NASCAR star who lost everything. The conversation gets cut short when Machine Gun Joe and his crew walk up to Jensen. They start trash-talking him and leave a message for Frankenstein saying this race is just between Joe and Frankenstein. Right at that moment, a prison van pulls up bringing back inmates who were out working. Jensen spots something interesting on their wrists: GPS tracking bracelets. This makes him remember. The man who murdered his wife was wearing the exact same kind of bracelet. Race day finally arrives. Jensen gets dressed in Frankenstein's full outfit. The clothes, the mask, even his ring. Just by showing up as Frankenstein, he brings back all the fans the show had lost. Coach warns Jensen not to talk to other drivers. That was part of Frankenstein's mysterious image. But he can take the mask off inside the car because the windows are tinted. And Case already knows he's not the real Frankenstein while preparing for the race. Jensen asks Case why she's in prison. She confesses she killed a police officer because he was an abusive husband. The race begins moments later. Since weapons stay locked until the second lap out of 3, the start isn't too crazy, though drivers still try to knock each other off the track. Thanks to Case knowing the race course perfectly, Jensen stays right beside Joe at the front. She shows him a hidden shortcut that lets him take the lead. That's when Warden Hennessy activates the weapons and shields, special spots on the track that unlock car weapons when driven over properly. Suddenly the race turns into complete chaos with guns firing everywhere. When Hennessy turns on the deadly death head traps, Grimm kills one of the weaker drivers by ramming his car into a trap. He also slows Joe down by spraying oil on his car. But Grimm doesn't win. 14K blasts him with a missile, sending him off track where Joe finishes him off. Meanwhile, Jensen gets his weapons working, but the machine gun jams. Case climbs onto the hood to fix it, making her an easy target. But Jensen's expert driving helps him avoid all the bullets, and Case makes it back inside safely. Jensen steals a defensive boost from Travis Colt's car, but just like with the real Frankenstein, his own defenses won't work when he needs them. The rear shield is about to break. Thinking fast, Jensen comes up with a clever trick. He has Case unhook the napalm tank and sit on his lap so he can launch her seat with the napalm out of the car. The napalm splashes all over Colt's car. Case throws a lighter at it, setting Colt's car on fire and taking him out of the race. Now it's just Jensen versus Joe again, until Pachenko distracts Jensen by making the same hand signal the killer used back at Jensen's house. Joe uses this moment to smash into Jensen's car, knocking him to last place while Pachenko takes first. When the race ends, 3 drivers are dead and only 6 remain for the next round. After the race, Coach's team checks the car and finds all the weapons work fine. They can't explain why they failed during the race. Jensen confronts Hennessy, saying he won't race anymore. He's figured out the truth. Pachenko killed his wife, and the whole thing was a setup to frame Jensen so Hennessy could get a new Frankenstein. Hennessy doesn't admit to setting up Jensen, but she shows him a photo of his daughter in foster care. She makes it clear, if he wants to see his daughter again, he better keep racing. With no other options, Jensen returns to the prison yard. He talks with Coach and asks why he doesn't have a prisoner number. Coach explains he actually qualified for parole 3 years ago, but chose to stay. The outside world had changed too much, and he felt more comfortable with the familiar prison life and races. He also tells Jensen he never believed Jensen killed his wife that evening. While working on the car, Jensen spots Pachenko walking by. He follows him to his pit area, where Pachenko's men grab Jensen. Pachenko punches him several times, then picks up a heavy tool to smash Jensen's head. He doesn't care if Hennessy is protecting Jensen. Just in time, List stabs Pachenko in the back with a pen. Jensen uses this distraction to grab a sharp piece of metal from the ground. He stabs one captor, then knocks out both him and his friend. Now free, Jensen attacks Pachenko, punching him, throwing him around, and hitting him with whatever objects are nearby. Finally, Pachenko confesses. Hennessy ordered him to kill Jensen's wife, and guard Ulrich helped him get to the house. As Jensen is about to kill Pachenko for revenge, Ulrich arrives with another guard and stops the fight. The next day, right before the second race begins, Pachenko taunts Jensen by making that same hand signal again. This time Jensen doesn't react. Instead, he drives slowly at first and takes a tunnel route so he can talk privately with Case. He suspects she might have killed Frankenstein, since the car's weapons failed 2 races in a row. He threatens to eject her from the car if she doesn't tell the truth. Case admits she did sabotage Frankenstein's rear weapons because Hennessy promised her freedom. She wasn't supposed to kill him, just make him lose the race so he'd have to keep racing. His death was an accident when he kept trying to win without weapons. Now that he knows the truth, Jensen speeds up and rejoins the race. He ignores Joe this time. His only target is Pachenko. After some failed attempts to push each other off the track, Jensen does something unexpected. He takes a weapons boost instead of defense, even though weapons are at the front of his car. Then suddenly Jensen turns his car backwards and fires at Pachenko while driving in reverse. After damaging Pachenko's car enough, he turns forward again and hits the smoke button. Pachenko crashes into a concrete wall. Jensen stops his car, gets out, and breaks Pachenko's neck as revenge for his wife's murder. Meanwhile, Joe makes the strange decision to switch navigators mid-race. Seeing all this chaos, Hennessy decides it's time to unleash her secret weapon, a huge armored truck called Dreadnought that she's been building for months. The Dreadnought truck is unbelievably strong. It quickly catches up to the racers and kills 2 minor drivers right away. Since it belongs to the warden, it has special privileges. It can drive through buildings to take shortcuts and suddenly appear at the front of the race. The massive truck first kills 14K's navigator slowly and painfully. Then it grabs 14K's car with chains and keeps shooting at it until the car explodes. Now only Jensen and Joe remain in the race. There's no way they can beat this monster truck alone. So Jensen has Lists connect his radio to Joe's car. They agree to team up temporarily. They position their cars on either side of the truck, carefully avoiding its attacks. When they see a trap manhole coming up, they time it perfectly. Each car hits it with 2 wheels, making all 4 wheels activated together. The trap springs up, and the huge truck crashes into it. With that, the second stage of the race ends. Only Jensen and Joe will compete in the final race. Later that night, Joe visits Jensen's pit area. He mentions Jensen's voice sounds strangely like Frankenstein's, but doesn't ask too many questions about it. At the same time, Ulrich and Hennessy decide Jensen needs to die. They want to keep the Frankenstein character alive for future races, and someone else can wear the mask. The next morning before the final race, Ulrich plants a bomb under Jensen's car while Hennessy gives a big speech to distract everyone. She talks about how racing gives their lives meaning. When Hennessy mentions this might be the first time someone could win their freedom with a 5th victory, Jensen realizes the truth. The races are always rigged, so no one ever gets that 5th win. That's why nobody has ever been freed before, and why he won't be allowed to win today either. Coach hears Jensen's realization. Back in the auto shop, Coach shows Jensen something important in the video of Grimm's death. This gives Jensen an idea. He tells List to add an extra small fuel tank to his car, then goes to Joe's pit to ask for his help again. While Jensen is changing into Frankenstein's outfit, Hennessy comes to see him. She gives him his release papers, but makes a new offer. If he wins, she wants him to stay in prison and keep being Frankenstein. She says he doesn't belong outside, that he wouldn't be a good father, and that staying would be the loving choice for his daughter. Jensen leaves for the race without answering her. He does put the release papers in his pocket, though. When he gets in his car, Case tells him Hennessy also talked to her. The warden told Case to stop Jensen if he was about to win. Jensen doesn't seem worried about this. As the final race starts, Ulrich controls the weapon pads to only work for Joe. He immediately starts shooting at Jensen, damaging his rear shield so badly that Jensen drops it, but Joe easily avoids the falling shield. He already knew this trick from when Frankenstein did the same move. Hennessy activates a defensive pad for Jensen to keep the race exciting for viewers, but Joe fires a rocket at it, destroying the boost before Jensen can use it. Joe keeps firing more rockets at Jensen, who skillfully dodges them so they hit a nearby wall instead. This is the same wall that was damaged when Grimm crashed earlier. Jensen and Joe had been planning this. All their attacks were carefully aimed at this weak spot. The rockets finally break through the wall, creating an escape route out of the prison. Angry about the escape, Hennessy shuts off the live broadcast and sends every available cop after them. She tries to detonate the bomb under Jensen's car, but nothing happens. Coach and his crew had already found and disabled the bomb. Joe and Jensen reach the bridge with police cars closing in. Jensen uses the next part of his plan. He releases the small extra fuel tank Coach added. It hits the chasing cars and explodes, creating a wall of fire that stops anyone from following them. Both racers make it past the bridge gates, then split up to divide their pursuers. All the helicopters follow Jensen since he's the more important target as Joe drives away. Case agrees to help Jensen with the final part of his escape plan. She feels she owes it to Frankenstein, and since Hennessy already gave her release papers, they have to let her go free. When they pass under some construction cranes, Jensen jumps out of the car unseen and hides in the shadows. Case takes over driving while wearing Jensen's clothes. She doesn't get far before helicopters force her to stop with a fire barrier. When she gets out with her hands up, she's wearing Frankenstein's mask and outfit instead. Since no one knew about the switch, the police arrest Case thinking she's Frankenstein. This lets Jensen escape and meet up with Joe. Together they jump onto a passing freight train to make their getaway. Back at the prison, Ulrich tells Hennessy the escape has actually made the show more popular than ever, with congratulation gifts already arriving. When Hennessy opens one gift box, she finds the bomb Ulrich had planted under Jensen's car, now rigged to explode. It detonates, killing them both. We see Coach was the one who sent the bomb and pressed the detonator. 6 months later, we see Joe and Jensen living new lives in Mexico. They work together as mechanics in their own garage, and Jensen has gotten his daughter back. Case visits them after being released, bringing a race car for them to fix. Jensen has realized he's the best person to care for his daughter. That's the story of Death Race. If you enjoyed this recap, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more movie stories, and share with your friends. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.